It is 3 in the morning. Your eyes open. The room is exactly as you left it, but your body will not move. Your mouth will not open. And in the corner of the room, something is there. You cannot see it clearly, but you feel it. The weight of it, the intention of it, moving closer. This is not a dream. You are fully awake, and you are completely paralyzed. The Mayans called it. The Vikings called it. The samurai called it. Medieval peasants in Europe called it. Cave dwellers thousands of years before any of them called it. Cultures that never touched, separated by oceans and centuries and mountain ranges, all saw the same thing in the dark. All gave it a different name. All built rituals to survive it. And none of them knew they were describing the exact same biological event happening inside their own brains. Today you are going to understand what that event is, why your brain does this, why it has always done this, and why, even after you know the science, the fear does not go away. In medieval Europe, they called it the incubus and the succubus, demons that sat on the chest of sleeping people and crushed the breath from them. The church built an entire theology around these creatures. Paintings were made, sermons were preached. People woke in the night unable to move, feeling a monstrous weight on their body and a presence of absolute evil in the room. And they believed every detail of it because to them, every detail was real. In Japan, it is kanashibari. The word means bound in chains of metal. It has existed in Japanese culture for so long that entire artistic traditions formed around it. Woodblock prints, protective ceremonies. The explanation was that spirits of the resentful dead came in the night to paralyze the living, to press on them, to punish them for something. In Mexico and across Latin America, it is la subida del muerto, the rising of the dead, a spirit that sits on your body while you sleep. In parts of Colombia and Venezuela, it is el viejo del monte, the old man of the mountain, coming down at night for reasons that are never entirely clear. In Brazil, the pisadera, a tall woman with long nails who walks across rooftops looking for those who slept with a full stomach. In Turkey, the karabasan, the dark presser. In China, the ghost that presses. In Ethiopia, the dukak. In Newfoundland, the old hag. In ancient Rome, the mare, the night creature that stole breath. Every one of these cultures was isolated from the others when they formed these beliefs. And every one of them landed on the same story. Something enters the room. Something sits on the chest. Something watches and presses and takes away the ability to scream. How is that possible? How do civilizations with no contact, no shared language, no shared mythology, all arrive at the same monster? The answer is not supernatural. The answer is biological. And it starts with something your brain does every single night without telling you. When you fall into the deepest stage of sleep, the stage researchers call REM, your brain makes a decision. A smart one, but a brutal one. It paralyzes you. Every voluntary muscle in your body, arms, legs, jaw, torso, is switched off by a chemical signal sent from your brain to your spinal cord. The technical term is rematonia. It happens to you every night of your life. You simply do not notice because you are not conscious when it happens. The reason is simple. Your brain does not want you physically acting out your dreams. It does not want you running from the thing chasing you and throwing yourself down a staircase. So it locks the body while the mind runs free. Elegant, effective, completely invisible, until the system fails. Matthew Walker, a neuroscientist at UC Berkeley who has spent decades studying the sleeping brain, describes the failure point this way. Sometimes under stress, under sleep deprivation, with irregular schedules or certain substances, the brain wakes before the paralysis lifts. Consciousness returns. The body does not follow. And you are left in the gap between two states that were never meant to coexist. Awake, aware, completely locked inside a body that will not answer. And then the hallucinations begin. Because here is what almost no one tells you about sleep paralysis. It is not just paralysis. In the overwhelming majority of cases, the brain, still partially in REM mode, begins to generate perceptions that are indistinguishable from reality. Not vague impressions, not blurry dreams, fully formed, three-dimensional, completely convincing experiences. Balan Jalal, a neuroscientist at Cambridge University who has studied sleep paralysis across more than a dozen cultures, found that these hallucinations are not random. They cluster into three categories so consistently that he could identify them across every population he studied, regardless of geography or cultural background. The first is the intruder, the overwhelming sense that something is in the room, a presence, a shadow, something that should not be there. The brain, interpreting the paralysis as danger, activates the threat detection system. The amygdala fires, and if there is no real threat to find, the brain manufactures one. A figure in the doorway, a shape on the ceiling, eyes in the dark. The second is the crusher, a physical sensation of enormous weight pressing down on the chest. Breathing becomes difficult. The chest muscles, still partially paralyzed, require more effort with every breath. The brain translates that effort into something external, something sitting on you, something with mass and intention and proximity. The pressure is completely real. The source is entirely inside you. The third is levitation. Less common, but documented everywhere. The sensation of floating, of leaving the body, of watching oneself from above. Many experiences that people describe as out-of-body travel are sleep paralysis with this variant of hallucination. The brain, untethered from normal sensory feedback, generates a new position for the self in space. The medieval incubus was the crusher. The presence in the corner was the intruder. The spirit lifting people from their beds was levitation. Every cultural monster maps perfectly onto one of three neurological events. Carlos Schenk, a sleep disorder specialist at the University of Minnesota, who has documented thousands of sleep paralysis cases over a career spanning 4 decades, has noted something that stays with him. The people he interviews do not describe these experiences the way they describe dreams. They describe them the way they describe things that happen to them. Because to the brain that generated the experience, there is no difference. The question remains, why is the fear so extreme? Why not simply unpleasant? Why does sleep paralysis produce one of the most intense terror responses the human brain is capable of generating? The answer is evolutionary. Your ancestors did not sleep in rooms with locked doors and climate control. They slept in open spaces, caves, forests, exposed ground. Waking up paralyzed in the dark in those conditions had one likely explanation. A predator had found you, or an enemy. Something dangerous was close, and you could not run. In that environment, the inability to move was not an inconvenience. It was the beginning of death. So the brain evolved to respond to that specific combination of signals, darkness, paralysis, presence, with the most extreme alarm it was capable of producing. Not discomfort, Not anxiety, pure, immediate, total terror. The kind of terror that would guarantee every available resource was devoted to escaping the situation.
That system is still inside you. It has not changed. It does not know you are in a bedroom with a locked door and a phone on the nightstand. It reads the signals, paralysis, darkness, perceived presence, and it fires the same alarm it would have fired 100,000 years ago on an open plain with a real predator in the dark. The fear is not a malfunction. It is the system working exactly as designed in exactly the wrong moment. For thousands of years, the humans who experienced this had no way to understand what was happening to them. They had no neuroscience, no sleep labs, no brain scans. All they had was the experience itself, the paralysis, the presence, the crushing weight, the absolute terror, and the complete inability to explain it through any natural means they possessed. So they did what humans always do when confronted with something real and inexplicable. They built a story. They created a creature that matched the experience. They developed rituals to protect against it. Amulets over doorways, prayers before sleep, specific sleeping positions, certain foods avoided. They consulted the wise people in their communities who confirmed that yes, this thing was real and here is how you survive it. They were not wrong that the experience was real. They were only wrong about the source. And here is what makes sleep paralysis unlike almost any other phenomenon that science has explained. Today you know what it is. The mechanism has been mapped. The neurology is understood. The evolutionary origin is documented. You can read exactly what is happening in your brain at every stage of the experience. And the next time it happens to you, your eyes will still open to a dark room, your body will still be stone, and in the corner, something will still be there. Because the science can explain the machinery, it cannot reach the part of you that responds to it. That part is older than explanation, older than language, older than the first story anyone ever told about a creature in the night. It was 3 in the morning. Your eyes opened. The room was exactly as you left it. And in the corner, something was there. Now you know what it was. Your own brain. Running an alarm so old it has no name. In the dark, where it has always lived.